Greetings, diners, and welcome to another edition of CoroNewz here on the Collapse Cafe of the Doomstead Diner. And I already have another video done, which is called Teotihuacan has arrived. And that was going to be my broadcast for this Sunday brunch. But as usual, the rapidly spreading and intensifying problem of coronavirus has caused me to have to do another video. And so you're going to get a double feature this weekend of 2 videos instead of 1. And you'll notice on my table in front of me, there's no food. Okay? Because I'm using different props, because I've got a different subject to address, and I need to have the stuff to demonstrate that rather than the food on the table. So the food, I'll eat it later, okay? And what we're going to talk about today is gearing up. All right, prepping, whatever you want to call it, for the battle that we all face now with coronavirus, and trying to slow the spread, and do the best we can, right? And it's getting increasingly difficult, of course, and we haven't even scratched the surface, yet. Of how bad things can get and probably will. So we have to start to consider the full measures that it's possible to take for yourself and your protection of yourself and your loved ones and so forth. And protective gear and what you're going to wear when you go outside your house, and you do have to go outside occasionally for stuff. I'm really prepped. I probably could stay inside my apartment for a couple of years without leaving. But, I like to eat fresh foods rather than all my prepped foods. And the stores still are open. And so I budgeted myself now a once-a-week trip outside the house to buy food and smokes and booze. And I'm trying to limit the amount of time that I do that for as well, and the amount of time that I'm, circulating with other people, and the time of day that I do it. Sometimes a day the stores are very busy, but other times a day they're not so busy. If you go really early in the morning, then usually the store is almost empty, and that's a good time to go, okay? And same thing as a little later at night. If you go later at night, you'll avoid people as much as possible. So, those are the times of day I think you want to go shopping. And then there's the question of, what do you wear, okay? Now, in a prior video, I poo-pooed the use of masks and so forth, because generally speaking, coronavirus is such a small virus that it'll pass through a mask. So you could breathe it in through any typical surgical mask, pretty much, that you might buy. And so I wasn't wearing a mask when I go outside up till today. Today I'm going to start. And what I've done is I've made my mask an enhanced mask. And you saw the arrangement on my face in a prior video, so I'm not putting it on now because I'm not going outside the house right now. But this is the top layer. Oh, I will put that on for a second. Okay. Which is an elastic gaiter. Alright. Which I bought a while back, and you can get them at places that sell camping gear and so forth. And they're good because, first of all, you can drop it down onto your neck when you don't need it on, and because the elastic, as opposed to those tie-on type of masks, the elastic holds it pretty tight against your face. So the air that you breathe isn't going to pass so much through the edges. It's pretty much all going to come through where your mouth and nose are. All right? So you're getting some filtration there. But as I said, with just something like the gaiter, the virus will pass through pretty easily. Now, if you have coronavirus, it will do a pretty good job of preventing your spray from your mouth and your nose, if you cough and so forth, from going out into the general environment. And so that will make life a little safer for other people if you happen to have the virus. And you might have it and don't know it, right? That's the case for many people in the first couple of weeks of infection. It is asymptomatic during that time. And that's why, one of the main reasons why it's been able to spread so rapidly, because people are getting on planes they thought they were perfectly healthy, and there's a huge number of tourists and business people and so forth, politicians who do international travel all the time, and then they meet their staffs, and their staffs meet their families, and so forth and so on, and this thing just pops along. And before you know it, it's out in the community. Before maybe the first person in the chain even still knows that they have the virus. And there isn't really enough testing going on, particularly in the fascist states of America, where denial has been rampant from the idiot-in-chief, Donald Dietrich Trumpovetsky. And so we're well behind the curve on the testing, just to begin with. Forget the equipment that's necessary and getting the logistics in place for handling so many people that are sick all at once, and so forth and so on. So there's almost no doubt that the virus and the sickness is going to expand in size, and probably quite rapidly over the next months. And so you got to do the best you can, right? All right. So while it may not be perfect, masking up and gloving up and so forth is a good idea, because while it may not help that much, it certainly won't hurt if you do it. All right. Now, the other problem that you may run into once you decide you're going to do this is that a lot of the shit is sold out. All right. They can't even get it for the hospitals and the doctors. The surgical masks, the gloves, and so forth. Even the biggest hospitals in New York are having supply problems with those things. Basic equipment. All right. They have to wear, a mask, one mask all day at the very least. And sometimes they're only issued one once a week. All right. And the same thing with the gloves. Traditionally doctors, they do one thing with one patient and off come the gloves into the trash. Okay. They're not used a second time at all, ever. But now in this case, because there's such a shortage, that's what they're having to do until something can be done about this. And production can be ramped up. But, when you're talking the numbers we're talking about here, and with the general population wanting masks and gloves, it's going to be pretty hard to make that many of them. Okay? 350 million people in the FSA, and even if you had just one pair a day of gloves, how many is that? 365 times 350 million? It's a big number, okay? And so there's not going to be enough gloves to go around. But hopefully you have some, all right? Maybe you have a box. I have a couple of boxes. It's not a huge prep item for me, but I did buy them, because I have my cripple helpers, and they help me do some personal hygiene tasks, and so I bought them for them. All right, so they could wear them, because nobody likes touching other people gross bodies, especially old, decrepit, gross bodies like mine. Okay? So, that's your main item, first main item, the rubber gloves. Okay? These are latex-free, and they are mediums. I have large and small also, because my cripple helpers come in different sizes. So those are good to use, all right, if you have them. But you might not have them. The other type of glove you might use, which could be reusable, is the more heavy-duty dishwashing gloves and toilet scrubbing gloves and so forth that you reuse. Okay, you could wear those, and they would do as good a job as the latex gloves do. And after each use, you come home and you wipe them down with a disinfectant solution. 10% chlorine solution would work pretty well. And if you don't have those, then you could wear leather driving gloves, okay? Or anything that'll cover your hands. And still allow you to pick things up and, put groceries into a bag or whatever. So I wouldn't wear mittens for it. And I wouldn't wear really thick, heavy winter gloves either. It's hard to do much with those. So those are alternatives for your hands, okay? If you can't get a couple of boxes of the latex gloves or latex-free gloves, whichever. Then is your mask situation, all right? Now, you guys saw it. I have a nice, stylish neoprene mask that has filter inserts. Okay, there's filter insert for this one. All right, and those are replaceable. I have, a couple of dozen in a box. And I originally bought these not for something like coronavirus. I bought it because of all the tear gas that was flying around from the Gestapo at the protesters all over the place. The yellow jackets or whatever, yellow vests, and Spain, and everywhere else. Ferguson here in the United States. Tear gas is in the air. So that's what I bought it for. But it is, a good mask. All right. Again, like my gaiter, it fits tight against the face. It's not, doesn't have a lot of gaps, and so forth. Now, what I'm doing as well, and if you don't have one of these, you can use some of these things that I'm doing to augment this and make it even better than it is. And one of the things that I'm doing is making activated charcoal filters. Okay? I made this one out of a paper towel and activated charcoal picked up in a fish store. All right? Where you for your aquarium. All right? It's the same stuff that goes into professional masks and so forth, but it comes a lot cheaper in the fish store. All right? Or the fish supply store, or pet store, or I don't know, whatever. Aquarium store. So, I don't know, I think that container cost me $5, maybe it was 10, I don't remember. And I had about 3 or 4 containers of those. And it doesn't take a whole lot to make one of these little filtration masks or, additions. Maybe a tablespoon of this stuff and to make this one. And so what you do with this, now if you have a mask like mine, you can just insert it in the mask, all right, and then put the mask on. But if you don't have a mask like mine, if you get a little athletic tape, you're going to tape it over your nose and mouth, like so, okay? And you can breathe through it, and it's fine. All right, no problem. And this is going to do a better job than just paper, just cloth, and so forth. Activated charcoal, it attracts stuff, okay, that's in the air. And it can be chemicals, it can be dust particles, whatever. Everything has a charge on it, you know, and so, of some sort, static charge. And so it gets glued to the activated charcoal, okay? So when you breathe in, whatever's in the air is going to pass through the charcoal, and hopefully a good percentage of the virus particles will end up sticking to the charcoal. All right. Now, besides that, though, I'm going a step further. All right. What I'm doing is, before I use it, before I put it into my mask and put it on, I'm spraying it down on the outside, not the side by my nose, but the side that's facing out, with a disinfectant, in this case, Simple Green. All right, and there's lots of them on the market. You know, they're all there in household supply. So I spritz this on there, and it does two things. Okay, first of all, it's a disinfectant. All right, and it kills lots of stuff, bacteria mostly, not viruses. Doesn't kill viruses, but one of the problems with coronavirus is that it's going to make you susceptible to pneumonia. All right, which is will kill you also. All right, if you're been compromised by coronavirus. Now, generally, the form of pneumonia, as I've read now, is more viral pneumonia than bacterial pneumonia. So, probably not that much help against that. But again, it won't hurt. All right. And then the other thing that helps is that it dampens the cloth, or the paper, I guess, in this case. And the dampness, again, will glue the particles to the paper, as opposed to dry surface where they could pop off again, you know, pretty easily. So you can make these things at home for yourself very easily, as long as you've got the charcoal and some paper towels. Now, you don't have to use paper towels. I mean, toilet paper works good too, but you got to be able to get paper towels and toilet paper. It doesn't take very much. So that was a half a sheet of from a roll of like 500 of those paper towels. So it will last a long time if you have a roll. All right. Now, finally, on basic preps, is you know, disinfectant wipes. All right, and there's a huge number of these type of things on the market that you can buy. In this case, I've got baby wipes. Okay, this is for wiping your baby's ass, and they're also antibacterial and disinfectant and so forth. I got them to wipe my own ass. Due to some bowel problems that I have experienced. You don't need to know about that stuff. There are other ones, many other varieties of these things, you know, wipes for your hands and stuff, but they all contain some sort of antibacterial liquid. They're impregnated with stuff, and then they're put in some type of watertight container, an airtight container. Some of them are in little packets, individual packets. These are, you know, bunched together in there, and so it's a nice supply, right? But not something you could stick in your pocket. All right, it's a little too big for that. But I drive around a cripple cart usually, or I carry some type of bag, so I can carry a box like this when I go out. You know, you just make it a practice of, if you're going to touch something, wipe it down first. Take one of those out and wipe it down. Even though you're wearing gloves and all the rest of it, you know, insurance. All right? So, you know, that's more or less going to complete a pretty good protection system. Now, I do have additions. All right? And here's one of them. And this is a set of skiing sunglasses. They don't have the rods over your ears. They have an elastic band that holds them on, and they don't let air in because they have neoprene seals around the where the glass is, or well, plastic actually. And so they fit tight against your face and will not let the viral particles touch your eyes, your eyeballs. Okay? See, that's mucous membranes. And from there, and the tear ducts and so forth, the virus could get into your system. All right? And so you don't necessarily need to breathe it in. You could get it through your eyeballs. It's possible. You know, I don't know if they've documented any case of that, but it's possible. So if you really want to, you know, add another layer of security, go with some type of goggles. All right? And there's, you know, you could wear scuba diving goggles, skin diving goggles, whatever, you know. There are all sorts of these things on the market. Swimming goggles. So if you got any of those around the house, you can use them. And then you'll note that, well, I don't know what showed up on the video, but for the doctors and the people that are really out in the field, that are, you know, really gearing up because they're contacting people every day that have the virus, and they know they have the virus in the hospitals and so forth. And so they go then to the level of dressing up in some type of plastic wear, clothing that will keep the viral particles from embedding in your regular clothing. All right, it's an over clothing type of thing, you know, a jumper or whatever, you know, jumpsuit. And those suckers are expensive if you can even get a hold of one. But you can do pretty good at a cheap price. And I forgot to bring the prop out, but whatever. But you can buy a rain suit at Walmart, plastic rain suit. It's got a top with a hood and then pants also that you put on over your clothing if you're camping and it's rainy. And, you know, it's waterproof and it's plastic. And you wear it, you put it on, you wear it, and when you come home, you take, you know, a 10% solution of chlorine bleach and wipe it down. All right? And when you take it off, wear gloves. All right? That's about as good as you can do on that one, on your clothing level. So, you know, you will go as far as you want to go with this. And as I said, I'm not going to be wearing the suit. And I'm not going to wear the goggles either. At least not yet. Here in Alaska, we have had an explosion, though, at last, of cases. We were hovering at, we were at, you know, 0 cases for quite some time, while other places in the lower 48 were starting to show cases. And then, as the caseload started to increase exponentially down in the lower 48, we got reports of 6 to 9 or so military people who came up on a transport, and they were sequestered at Jaber Air Force Base. That's Richardson Air Force Base. But now, I just read that we are showing 69 cases in Alaska, and spread all over the very large state. The most are in Anchorage, of course. The one place you could almost call a city, with like 600,000 people, maybe 650. I'm not sure where they're at right now. And then we also have some in Fairbanks, and I believe there's some in Ketchikan and Juneau, and right here in my hometown of Palmer, Alaska, there are 2 cases now. So it's here, and it's going to spread. So, you know, now's the time to get started on something that's going to be an ongoing thing for, well, till a vaccine is developed. And I also have on top of that I've got to sign up on my door that I am in quarantine and I'm not taking visitors and so forth. I'm luckier than most people in the sense that I'm used to living in isolation. I've lived that way for years. The cabin fever problems and that sort of stuff that a lot of people are going to face, being cooped up in the house all the time, I don't face those problems. So I long ago conquered the psychological aspects of being alone and not with other people. I could go into that, but I've written about it on the Diner, and this is probably a long enough broadcast already. Anyway, so I wish you all luck in your personal battle with coronavirus, and that's all the doom. This time, until next time, here on the Collapse Cafe of the Doomstead Diner. Hasta la. Prep up. Masks, goggles, activated charcoal, wipes, rubber gloves, etc.